Good morning. All right. Had an idea this morning and I think I want to roll with it. Still working on how do I share ways to actually develop that practice at home. So good morning. I'm Belinda with Just Be Yoga, and this is our home yoga practice live. Come on in, make yourselves comfortable. Feel free to say hello. What we are doing in this time together, hopefully, is learning ways to start to develop practicing at home. And I started thinking, I'm even guilty of saying this a lot. Do what feels right. Listen to what your body wants, what feels good, what do you need, right? I often will start a class, whether it's an in-person studio class or even in this environment where I'll say, what do you need? But I really was thinking this morning, I know that there's plenty of people who are like, I don't know. Aren't you supposed to tell me what to do? Man, that's a cop-out. This teacher doesn't want to really tell me what to do, right? And I thought, that's legit, especially when we're new to coming and occupying these bodies. So I'm going to hopefully try to find ways to give you a little bit of strategy about figuring out what you need and what you're feeling. Because we're often like, I don't know what I'm feeling. I'm walking, I'm fine. And that's our standard answer, right? I'm fine. I'm good. I'm fine. Until we're not. And then there's a thing that starts to scream. But usually there's a pre-scream that we're not listening to. In yoga, at least asana practice and the focus practice, the meditation focus, the dharana and dhyana end of things, help us start to notice the pre-scream, all right? So, little baby story, and maybe you'll relate to this. I might have been 25, 26 years old. Many of you know that in my other life, my pre-life, the before yoga, so the BY life, I was a journalist. And as a young journalist, I had taken a job in upstate New York. And I was near moving, I think. And anyway, I had gotten out of my truck, just picked up a bag of groceries, just, handle paper bags, and went to go pick it up out of the back of the SUV. Nothing extraordinary. It's not like there were like watermelons or gallons of milk in it. And again, I'm a young person. So I went, boom, pick it, and I literally fell on the parking lot ground. My back was like broken. I felt a pain that I hadn't felt ever before. I was sure I must have slipped a disc, broken some nerves. I'm busted for life. I'm going to have to crawl out of this parking lot, which I literally did, crawled out of my parking lot. I laid there at home for about 2 days. Just figured, okay, this isn't getting better. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor gave me, what are those? Those muscle relaxants. Well, that just knocked me the F out, right? So I was laid up in my apartment, and I think it was like day 4. I was like, this is just like, it's gotta get better. What the heck? Long story short, I ended up getting a massage and all kinds of stuff and lots of different therapies. But it wasn't that my back that day, right? We often go to the doctor, we go to wherever we're going, and we go, dude, I just did this one thing. But that isn't the story. There were pre-stories and pre-screams going on. And hopefully our yoga will help us learn that maybe from some of the stress and the way that I was sitting, the stress of having moved. I was probably, moved from states. I had moved from Pennsylvania to New York. Change of life. I had also been physically moving lots of things. And so it was like an erosion. And I guess that the yoga is a way for us to start to learn and feel the granules of that erosion. Now, maybe we've got to start with some timber before we can get down into the granules. But if we're walking into our yoga and all we're like is, well, I walked in, I'm fine. I don't know, I'm fine. And that our answer overall is that I'm fine. And that you can't just stop for a minute and go, well, actually, my second toe on my right foot has a little bit of a cramp. My left hip is feeling a little stiff. The right side of the base of my skull connected to my neck is a little twinge. Right? And that would be my answer to you this morning. Because I built that awareness. Good morning, Carla. You had a similar thing. I knew that this story would resonate. Couldn't turn your head 10 degrees. Here, I'm going to share this. So yeah, I think many of us have had like a similar story to share where we're just like, I wasn't doing nothing. But all of a sudden we're busted and broken, right? So great. Thank you so much, Carla, for sharing. And I hope that you're much better now. All right. So enough of my story time. Well, for now, because you know me. So let's get back to today and being on our mat. Because if you're like, okay, I'm arriving at my yoga mat and I'm at home by myself and I don't know, oh, what am I supposed to be doing? Aren't you supposed to tell me what I'm supposed to be doing? First of all, there are no supposed tos and there are no shoulds. There is only here. And I'm not trying to be some mystical yogi, but it really is true. Like, there is only what is in you, just as there is only what is in me. So first, I'm just willing to arrive. And that's why silence is often a huge recommendation. Now, if you can't deal with silence right off the bat, play something light in your background. I'm not going to play anything today so that you can just have something in your environment. Maybe it's flute music. For all I know, maybe it's heavy metal. Maybe that settles you down. But keep it low on volume. Maybe just hearing outside. I love the spring and the summer when you've got the windows open and I can just hear the birds. Arriving in and starting to tune in. It's like blowing the dust off of our own antenna. All right, so let's just have a little bit of moment of this quietude. And just notice like what's driving you crazy about it and what feels good about it. No goal, just saying, okay, this is what is. And if it was driving you crazy, okay, we'll make a note of that. That's why a journal is good. Quiet drives me crazy. If you started to really slow down, but then not really want to be dedicated to doing anything, you just want to go to sleep, right? Quiet pulls me down so much, I tune out. So we get to start to learn, can I tune in and stay tuned in? Stay tuned in and not aggravated. Or do I get tuned in and I want to tune out? Just to be aware, we're kind of wiping clean a little bit of our windowsill so we can see. Oh, that's what I do. All right, so today we're going to talk about and move a little bit in practicing, getting to know what do I need, what do I want. Okay, so a little bit of learning about some of those pre-signals of what's going on in our bodies. So it's basically going to end up in looking at pose, counter pose. And maybe that helps some folks kind of get a little bit of landscape about where we're going, right? So if we're back bending, we fold. If you twist in one direction, we twist in another. If we expand, we contract, right? So those are kind of pose, counter pose kind of ideas. But before we get into that, when we're starting to tune into that dial, tuning in on what's going on within us. Do I feel strong and supported in different areas of the body? And we'll work on that. Or do I feel weak and crumbly? Let's try not to put a judgment onto it. Just think of it as a physical characteristic. Do I feel open or closed in certain areas of my body? Do I feel grounding like I'm growing and expanding, or do I feel stagnant? Am I overly agitated? Just take in those words and maybe scan parts of your body. What does over agitation feel like? Is it superficial? Is it just on the skin? Does that feel like buzzy? Or is over agitated deep down into the bones? It feels tense. We're all going to experience that in different ways. But we also are going to experience, what does ease feel like? What's the opposite of over agitation? Okay, so I'm just trying to give us some pose, counterpose in terms of sensory experience. All right, so we talked about strong, supportive, or rigid. Does strong and supportive mean rigid? Overly agitated or ease? Growing and expanding? Yes, I made notes and I'm looking at them, which is new for me. So y'all got to deal with me, like kind of going a little crazy in my head. Growing and expanding or stagnant, and then open or closed. We're all going to experience them differently, but that's a good starting ground. As you arrive in your mat, you start to look at, okay, what am I feeling? What do I need? When this darn teacher goes, do what you need, do what feels right. And you're just like, I don't know. So start to ask yourself, am I feeling rigid or am I feeling loose? Which feels stable right now and is stable, stuck, or able to go with the flow? And then lastly, equilibrium. What is equilibrium? And some of us don't know that, right? I thought I was at an equilibrium until I wasn't. And I was on the ground in a parking lot. But I'll tell you what, I have never had such an extreme occurrence again. I have gotten close, but that was enough of me swaying into the other end of the spectrum that said, whoop, I'm going to develop some awareness because I don't want that to happen again. Okay. And so I have built some awareness. It doesn't mean that Belinda doesn't overdo. I still overdo copiously. I overdo way up here, but I overdo physically because I've gotten so accustomed to a certain level of strength and ability in my body that, I sometimes believe I'm a superhero and I push it a little too over that edge, but I can peel it back because I still have never ended up on a parking lot ground with a spasm in my back that has crippled me to that degree again. All right. So I'm going to give cues today as we're moving as ways of, if you were on your own, how do you arrive on your mat and start to feel out? Am I feeling overly agitated or am I at ease? Am I feeling rigid or supported? And do I know those differences? And we're going to find ways of squeezing and engaging and letting those go. Eventually, that may turn into, do I feel rigid and supported in a one-legged space or on my hands with my feet in the air? But right now, let's keep it simple. Let's not go for human levitation. Let's just come for, do I know what's going on? Because when you just shoot for human levitation first, you're going to break something. I will tell you, I have tried. You're going to break something. You're going to fall. You're going to fall on your face. And then you won't want to try again because you pushed it too far. All right. I know I've talked about intention and motivation, and today I want to let some of that woo-woo go because I fear that I've lost some folks, in some of that woo-woo. So I'm just trying to keep it down to some of the logistics of what's going on in our bodies. And when we feel at ease and a better awareness of what's going on in here, this starts to follow. So we'll just let that be for now. All righty. Let's come to standing. And good morning, and thank you for everybody who is wishing to join with us this morning and feel our feet, and maybe just start by not being absolutely still. And notice the weight bearing that's going on in different bones of your feet. Can you identify different bones and how the weight is shifting in them as you kind of tread a little bit here? I tend to dump too much into the ball joints of my, the big toe knuckle. And so I'm trying to build awareness because I know that I'm standing in them. I can feel them on the earth. Now I'm going to be still. So I felt all of that treading. And I'm going to squeeze the feet. Bunch them up. Bunch them up. When we head into boot season, which is now while we're, in the winter time, I'm starting to notice that when I'm in those shoes, my feet claw. It's like, oh, why can't I relax? What's going on in my feet? And now I'm going to flare the toes and bunch them. Now, what's tightening up the legs? One could say that what we're doing in those legs is making us feel stable or supported, but I know that I'm being overly rigid to the point of strain. Now, where can you find the difference? Where's that equilibrium? And start to feel that out. Now, I also tend to want to collapse into my own arches, so I have to work on letting the action start in my thighs to press more evenly through the sides of the feet, recognizing that my thighs actually affect how I work in my feet. And I'm going to do a few pelvic tilts. Now, some of us don't even have much connection to know how to do this. All right. Now, I definitely have had some yoga instructors who've had to bring like a sexual connotation to kind of go, oh, we are actually moving and grinding in this pelvis as though we're having sexual encounter. And if that's what you need, go ahead. Because, that's like the main thing that humans do with one another when this region is involved. All right. And then I'm going to turn back here. Can we see what moves here? And as you're moving side to side here, try to keep the head, if you notice here, my head over my hips, and just observing what's going on in my low back, what's going on the sides of my hips. I actually can feel a bit of stretch in the side of the calf as I move here. And just because I say that I'm feeling that doesn't mean that you have to feel that. All right, what feels at ease? Is anything feeling overly agitated? And I'm saying that way because I think sometimes all we say is stretch. What is stretch feeling like? Is it a tingle? Is it an over agitation? Is it a pulling sensation? What does stretch feel like? And sometimes it has different feelings. I'm going to stay here, again, head over hips and shoulders. And I'm going to try to see if the hips want to come forward. Now, when I did that, my knees had to bend a little bit to bring the hips ahead of this plane. So I'm trying to keep my head over my feet, but I'm bowing forward here. My low spine is saying I don't like that because I'm crunching. So I'm going to use my hands to push down, get a little bit of space in my low back. I really overdid that. I was pushing too far, so I'm going to bring some ease in that. All right, so that was over agitation, a little bit of strain. Now, I love doing this kind of back and forth from the feet all the way up so that I can start to figure out where's my comfort zone. And you sometimes don't know your comfort zone until you exceed it. And I just exceeded it where my low back said, Belinda, I don't know who you think you are. So I'm going to try to now respect that and say, okay, it didn't like to go that far. I'm going to bring it back here and feel my core muscles. Just try to squeeze them and relax them. Squeeze them and relax them. Do we know how to do that without sucking in our breath? All right. So I felt a little bit of my feet, my thighs, my hips, side, forward, and just kind of feeling out, like I said, what's open, what's closed, what feels overly agitated and at ease. Now I'm going to exaggerate the at ease. Let's flop. All right, loosen as much of your flesh around your bones. We're just kind of droop and drag. And now give it a little bit more. Give some engagement of muscles. Do we know what muscles that was? I was pushing in my heels. I could feel, I was driving in my heels. Now I'm going to push through the front of my toes. That actually stood me up a little bit more this way. Now I'm going to squeeze my thighs. And that was my core muscles lifted my chest. All right, so I'm feeling out. Now I'm going to hinge here. What wants to move? Remember that open, close? What feels open, what feels closed in my body? What's liking this? What isn't liking this? Arms. Starting to feel my shoulders. Rotate. rotate. Where is it starting from? Where is it ending from? Am I working it only in the shoulder joint? Am I only rotating my forearms? Do I know? Am I twisting my wrists or am I twisting my upper arms? Where does the stoppage begin? Right? The stoppage of a rotation. Is it stopping? Is it starting to stop in the shoulder, in the neck? Is it starting to stop in the wrists? Good. And now I'm just going to bend here and open and expand. Bend here, open and expand. Where does it want to stop? Where am I feeling any distress? Am I feeling it in between the shoulder blades? Am I feeling it in the back of these muscles here as I open here and here? Over agitation, ease. Open or closed. What feels rigid versus supported? What's supporting these arms? Okay, we could say, well, I don't know, they're just suspended here. Actually, no, there's a ton of muscles around those bones squeezing. And this structure here squeezing to make those arms not go like that. Do that again. What is holding those arms? Is it in the back? Is it in the neck? Is it in between your shoulder blades? Is it on the underside of your arms? Could you puff the armpit muscles? Would that give you more stability? It certainly isn't the wrists. We could let the wrists go and go, well, the wrists aren't holding my arms up. I could bend the elbows. Starting to notice what's really doing that. And how is that making me feel? All right, what would be a good counter? Now we're going to start to do some pose counter. Expand, counter. Expand, counter. I'm just switching arms. Expand. What is the limit of that expansion? What is this counter? Up and down in the shoulder joint. Up and down in the shoulder joint. Neck now, up and down while I'm holding this. Because it's actually stretching the muscles in between the shoulder blades. Can you feel that flesh stretching? Neck, left and right. Now remember, what's stable, what's rigid. When you hit the max of a rotation somewhere, does it still feel like it's willing to fluidly move, or does it feel rigid and stuck? How do you greet the limitation? And release. All right. I'm just trying to give us some examples of, as we just scanned from the feet all the way up, what did we learn? What's feeling fatigued? What's tired? What feels rigid? What feels super loosey-goosey? What feels overly expanded? What feels contracted, right? Open, close. Overly agitated, strong, and rigid. Growing and expanding versus stagnant. And I really feel like we feel that mostly when we're actually in the motion of doing something. And I have folks here who I know have done some vinyasa or that flow where we just keep going. Kind of consider it the marathon run of yoga where you just keep going and you just keep going. And we can feel like we are growing and regenerating energy, or that it's draining and we're becoming stagnant. And when we're becoming stagnant, what do we do? And do we know how we refill our cup? Not what others tell us to do. What do we need to refill our cup? Oftentimes, that's some rest. Do you know the postures? Do you know the states of your body that refill your cup? Okay, that's it. That's enough of my preaching, my coaching a little bit today. For when you're arriving on your mat, what is going on in your body? We're going to do a little bit of movement. I'm going to make some suggestions, and you're going to hopefully learn how to pause and ask yourself, and I'll cue a couple of times, are we overly agitated or are we at ease? Where's that equilibrium? Am I feeling supported in a structure in my body, or am I being rigid? And where is that equilibrium? Is something growing and expanding, or is it becoming excessive or stagnant and dull? Okay, and in the middle of that is where we generate that awareness and we grow. We're not doing a performance plan. We're not excelling. We're not doing mind over matter. Yoga is yoking. So that's where the difference is. I'm not going to say, we're going to do 20 reps of this and then 5 reps of that. And then we always do this whole plan, always the same every single day. No, because I'm not a machine, and nor are you. And you're not here for that. Go do that somewhere else. I'm not saying that doesn't have a role. So if you want to go do your workout plan, go do your workout plan. If you're coming to kind of understand how you occupy this body so that your body can tell you the pre-scream before something breaks on a physical end, maybe eventually the pre-scream on the mental end before we have that mental breakdown. Hallelujah. I could use that. Then the yoking lets us help and see that balance and equilibrium. All right, let's come to the top of our mat. Feel your feet. I'm going to separate them a little bit. I'm going to come on to the tippy toes. Notice the ankles. Do they buckle or are they strong? Is the strong rigid or fluid? Lower that down. Lift the toes. I've got to pooch the butt back a little. And then come onto the toe. Snap, crackle, pop. I just felt the joints in my toes. And then back into the heels. What happened? What muscles had to help us? All right, so as we're going back and forth here, just start to notice, am I being rigid? Am I being fluid? And play with your amount of fluidity and rigidity. Feel the muscles in your shins and your calves. Your Achilles tendon. Are they yanking and snatching to try to hold you? Stuttery? Or is it this real strong, solid grip? Or is it spasmodic, oh my God, grip? Now, just notice your breath as you're doing this. Don't say, oh, I want to stand up taller. Oh, I'm improving my toes. Nope, you're just getting to know your feet. You're occupying your ankles and your bones and your flesh together. What's overly excessive and what's at ease. Good, and we'll root down, stand in the legs. Now super squeeze them, go ahead and jam the knees back if you want. Just feel what's extreme in that, and now loosen. What's extreme in that? Go ahead, feel it, squeeze it. Do your bones like it? Do they not like it? Are you already starting to back off the amount of pressure that you're putting? Was one leg responding more than the other? Actually, my left leg, that's kind of interesting. Good, now I'm going to try to find the middle ground where I'm not loosey-goosey in my legs, and I'm not squeezing the death and the circulation out of them. All right, solid in the belly, dumping in the belly and the back. Solid in the belly, dumping in the belly and the back. They're connected. Now, solid without being rigid. Let the tummy go. Shoulders forward, shoulders back. Shoulders forward, shoulders back. Try not to strain too much, but feel what's the extent and the range. What's the information you're getting back? Is there one area more than the other? Good. Now I'm just trying to find an equal space where I know I'm not shoving it forward, nor am I shredding it back so much. Arms, I'm just going to let those go. See if I can let those go. Do I know if I'm letting them go? Now lifting through the back of my neck. Let's lift the arms up, shoulder blades down. Can you root your shoulder blades down? What happened to the feet? Are you standing in the legs, or did we let go of what they're doing? Can we just be aware of what they're doing? Did they start to overlock? Are they going asleep? Are you in the toes or the heels? How about the belly and the core? Now, remember those hips? I'm going to send them forward and ask my chest to lift. And notice what I'm feeling. I actually feel the skin stretching in my belly. Kind of like it. My low back has said, don't push any further forward. Remember, it's like, what do I do? What do I need? What am I feeling on my mat, in my body? And now I'm just going to hinge forward and start to notice. Now, actually, my low back started to scream halfway down. So I'm going to bend my knees a little. I can keep them straight first, and I'm just feeling different degrees of agony. Remember what I said? We feel different degrees of stretching. So some of us have become accustomed to an intensity as saying, I must seek that intensity. But that isn't the case. We need to start to ask ourselves, is that intensity harmful? Do I know how to soften around it? What is that intensity trying to tell me? So I've just given a little soft give in my knees. Now I know, because I've been practicing for a long time, that if I give it this soft give and I repeat this folding, eventually I'll be able to straighten the legs because the tissues are going to gradually lengthen. I'm not going to demand and rip them open. They don't like that. So I'm like, okay, I hear you. Now shift left and right and notice the whole left leg and the right leg. Do we know how to shift our weight? What's excessive? When you shift way far to one side, shift way far to another side. And now what's a balance space in intensity and in weight bearing? And then I'm going to shift forward and back. And then settle in. So never feel like, oh, I need to know what equilibrium is and seek it. No, go through all of the ranges of non-equilibrium, and somewhere in the middle, you'll start to find your way. Now I'm going to roll the spine up, lifting my head last, and notice the whole back. What areas of the back liked that? What areas of the back were feeling agitated? How do you adjust your pace for that? All right. Now I'm going to do the shoulders again. And as you notice, we're doing the shoulders forward and back. It's a rounding of the spine and an opening of the chest. Feel the vertebrae in your spine. Are they liking this? Are they not? Is it overly agitated or at ease? Could you soften what you're doing, and would that bring more ease? Would you enjoy it? Is your body responding in a way that says, yeah, this is good? Or the body says, meh, I don't know. Or your body says, it's not enough, I need some more. Okay, I'm going to round a little bit more. Good. All right, so clearly my low back is starting to talk to me today. So I'm really going to start to vary some things so that I'm not doing too much in the low back. I don't know what I did yesterday, and I'm going to let go of that cognitive space, but I'm going to give a lot more support to my back, so I won't be doing a lot of deep back bending because of that little bit of that diagnostic we just did that said, my low back needs me to be kinder today, and I'll carry that with me throughout the day. These are parts of some of the things that we learn on our mat. So I'm going to breathe in and lengthen upward. I'm going to bring myself all the way down. Again, feeling this. Now check the neck. Maybe work the neck. So we do a whole body diagnostic. And I'm going to lengthen the spine forward. Now I'm going to keep those knees bent because I said that my low back was a little upset with me. And by keeping the knees bent, I'm taking some of that pressure out of that spine. I've got my hands out in front of me like a tabletop. And let's just shift forward and back. This is structural. So we're just kind of feeling out what feels stable, what feels rigid. In the wrists and the fingers. What feels rigid, what feels stable. Squeeze the muscles in your forearms. Do they have to support us? How about the elbows? Are the elbows locked or are they fluid? Are we over agitated or at ease? Maybe bend the elbows a little and straighten and notice whether the body likes it or not. Okay, sag in the shoulders and puff in the shoulders. I'm just going to stay here and not shift. Sag in the shoulders and puff in the shoulders. What are the muscles that are doing that? Do we even know what it means to sag? Or stand firm in those upper arms. Squeeze the upper arm muscles. Let the upper arm muscles and core go. Good. We're going to bring the hands in toward the midline. So the hand beneath your face. I'm bringing my right hand beneath my face, not out wide, shoulder width. Toward the midline, giving support toward the middle of the spine. I'm going to bring my left hand to my back. I need to bend those knees again. My back is starting to say hello. And so now I'm going to twist. What did that take? What do we enjoy? What feels stable? What feels over agitated? What's starting to feel like a burning sensation? Is that excessive? Are you leaning into it? Could you soften it and still stay? And release. Let's just hang, let go. What is ease and strength? I'm going to come on back forward. I'm going to bring that left hand beneath my face. I'm going to revolve, feeling the stability of that left arm. Is it stable or is it rigid? Do I know how to be stable without being rigid? And I think that after you start to really absorb this notion, we realize, oh, this can take a long time to develop my awareness of. Do I have that patience? And then we get to work on patience. And let's release. I'm going to roll the spine up. Maybe you're feeling ease starting to come into those arms from that bit of a twist. All right, I'm going to build another bit of awareness. And this is going to be coming toward the feet and the hips. Go ahead and bring the heels out, toes in. And then notice what you notice, because the upper thigh actually had to rotate out this way. Squeeze the thighs and relax. Squeeze all the muscles in your legs and your feet. What are you noticing? What's screaming? What's tense? Anything feel twingy? And relax. Okay. Now, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to bring these feet in as much as you can. You might need to widen it, but don't go super wide. What are we noticing? Don't do a squeeze yet. Just notice what you notice. For me, it's right here. We're all going to feel it differently. You might feel something. It might feel curious. Maybe you just go, I don't know, it just feels wrong. But we're learning, okay? And now hip, all, hip, all. Let's bring this back and let's go back out. Now I'm keeping the feet a little wider this time. I feel like I actually got a little bit more rotation this way. So this is an external rotation of the hips, but I can actually feel it in the joints in the actual ball and socket here. Some of us maybe just feel it on the inner thighs. We're all going to have a different region that we're feeling it. Squeeze, relax, squeeze, relax. Squeeze the butt muscles, the thighs, relax. What are you noticing? And I'm going to keep the feet that wide and bring it in. Same deal now. Go ahead and squeeze. Try not to jam the knees back, though. This won't feel good on the knee ligaments. Squeeze, relax. Squeeze, relax. Okay, so we've got an inward rotation and an outward rotation. What feels open, what feels closed, what feels rigid, what feels fluid. Let's widen it out a little. You see where this can go, right? You only know how to do the Buddha squat, but we start to feel out this external rotation. Could I rotate the feet out anymore? And then actually there's no more that the feet can go. It's about this thigh bone. And staying upright because we're on this plane. Oh. All right, squeeze, relax, squeeze, relax. Hips forward as you squeeze. Oh! All right, now a little bit of bend. Oh, what are we feeling? What has the body not done in a while in terms of this kind of movement? We're going to bring the legs in. Bend and up. What's going on? What are we learning? What's fluid? What's rigid? What's tight? What's open? What's closed? What's growing? What's stagnant? Can you feel the muscles of the upper body holding the torso up? What do we need? Maybe your body hasn't moved like this in a long time or ever. And you're like, huh. Now, sometimes I get people say, well, why would I want to do that? Why not? The body has different ranges of movement and contortion that we can do. Is it to our benefit to fully occupy this body for what it can do, as opposed to why should I do it and limit ourselves? The yoga helps us see our capacity and possibility if you're a person who reads Yoga Sutras. All right, so we had some open hip space, closed or inverted hip space. Now legs together, neutral. And just feel the difference now that we've done that. I'm going to cross this leg over. And then notice, oh, the hips wanted to twist. Can I bring the hips back here and start to notice what's going on in those legs? And switch. We'll often notice something different from side to side. Maybe in the groin, maybe in the low back, maybe in the thighs. Try to feel it out in terms of what's open, what's closed, what feels expanding and growing, what's feeling stagnant. Where's the weight in your feet? Are you using your whole foot in both sides? Or are you starting to find a leaning tendency? Can you create equilibrium? What will it take? What does it task other areas of the body to do if we seek that equilibrium? Can we take our time to find it? All right. We're going to try to combo some of these elements all together into a bit of a flow and feel some of the heat generate. Notice when we want to quit. Notice when our fire gets stoked, right? Once our energy gets going and our energy stokes up, do we get carried away with the energy or do we know how to find an equilibrium, right? I myself can get carried away with energy. I get hyped up. And then I'm like, whoa, let's do all the crazy things, right? And I'm trying to find a nice equilibrium space. All right, so find where you want your feet to be. Actually, I would like my feet together today. And let's breathe in. Come up onto the tippy toes. Back to the heels, lift the toes. Maybe hips forward, maybe not. What feels solid? Do you like feeling solid? Does your solid have to be rigid? Now I'm going to find my equal space, bend the knees, sink the butt back, lift the chest. I'm going to scoop the tailbone under, back and forth. Just a little, noticing what wants to move, what doesn't want to move. Come to standing. Go ahead and send the hips forward if that's comfortable for you. I've already said that my back said it didn't want me to go too far. And now come on forward. Hands out in front of us, nice flat space. Maybe it's on a block. Shift forward and back. Forward and back. Look at your feet. Are they even? Do we have an equal position in our bodies? Are the palms on an even line? Are the feet on an even line? Good. Let's bring the right hand beneath the face. Twist. That left hand can come to the back. Maybe it sweeps up toward the ceiling. Notice your shoulders. Is there space or is there tension? Notice your whole spine. Is it rigid? Is it fluid? Notice your legs. What role are they performing to give us stability? Bring the left hand down. Release and twist. Feel your wrists, your elbows, maybe give a little bit and then straighten and notice what feels more stable. Never trust that you think you know. We're here to feel. Breathe and let's release. Bring those hands down. Let's shift forward. Walk the feet back to plank. Feel those arms doing the same thing that they were just doing. Now walk the legs back up. Feel. Take your way back. You don't have to go back very far. Maybe there was a great big, oh shit, that just came on in your mind. Who knows? Take note of that too. Breathe. Let's walk it back. Feel those arms being stable. Are they stable or are they rigid? Do they have to be? Can you soften them a little bit? Notice what happens. Sometimes if we're less rigid in the arms, we actually notice, holy crap, my core, my belly had to do something. And that might be a big revelation. Let's walk the legs back. If there's heat building in your body, start to notice. Roll the spine up. Is it regenerative or is it draining? Let's bring the feet in. Bend, straighten. Open the heels out. Bend, straighten. Okay, I'm going to keep those feet that wide. Toes in. Bend, straighten. Going to widen it out. Here we go. And bend, straighten. I'm going to straighten my right leg. Left knee is bent. Try to keep these hips forward. Bend, straighten. Are we rigid or are we fluid but stable? Try not to lock the knee. Or go ahead and lock it and feel that difference. Do the joints in the hips and the knees feel fluid or are they stuttery? Does the stuttering indicate fatigue or that we are exhausted or a lack of strength? What do we know? Now, are we willing to give to ourselves what we need, or are we forcing the body in some mental projection? I'm going to straighten, I'm going to spin and spin, and other side. Feel this side. What do I need? How is the heat building in my body? Now, am I running away from that heat? Are we like, oh, I'm tired now? Now, that's a real, this can be a really interesting point in our practice where we get to learn what is my edge of growing in some heat versus being a little self-harming. Okay. And that's for you to gauge out. Do you have a tendency? I've already told you my tendency is lean into the heat until the flame has just burnt myself up. So I've really had to work on liking and enjoying slower, more yummy practice because I am a do kind of person. All right, I'm going to keep bent here and bend here. And here we are feeling the hips sink and straighten. Okay, let's be kind. If you need to come out, just go back to mountain with the legs up and straight and find that equilibrium. Sink, hold if you're here. What's going on in your feet and your ankles? Could they do more than this area, the area that might be crying out the most? What is this area saying? Is it open and at ease, or is it open and at distress? How do you vary that distress? Good, and let's stand and sink. So we're all going to have our own pace and practice. I'm going to spin here, look at the feet, try to make sure that they're even and parallel. And let's come forward. Our first time in a wide-legged forward fold. That was my hip bone. Trying not to, what am I trying to say? Lock the knees back. Keeping my knees soft. Now, the part of the body that we need for structure are the two legs that are holding us. They are the pillars. So the upper body and the spine don't need to be doing anything. So what is going on in the neck and in between the shoulder blades? Can we let it go? Where's the weight in your feet? And if you adjust the weight in your feet, how does that affect your ability to hang in the upper body? Feel that connection, that correlation. Let's bring the hands down, come down to the knees. I'm going to reach these arms out, rotate. Try to see if you can isolate just right here on the movement. Don't even move the wrists. Notice how the neck is involved. It's connected. How much does this area of the body want to move? How much is it accustomed to moving? And if moving starts to feel good because we haven't done this a lot, don't overdo. And sometimes we have to pay that price of overdoing. We think, oh, that wasn't much. And then tomorrow you're like, oh, crap, right? Because it looks like it was minuscule and then we were liking it. So we dove into it and we realized it's kind of like cookies. Like, oh, just because I like the cookies, I probably shouldn't eat 10 of them just because I like them, right? So we learn and then we back off. All right, I'm going to take this right arm across, hook under it, drop that shoulder down, and just sit up here. Just try to hug that arm as close to the chest as we can and sit up tall and just notice what is changing over time. Notice nuance now of the fibers and the tissues in the back of that arm. Drop the right shoulder blade down, lifting in the chest. If you don't want to do this hook with this left arm, you could always just bring the left hand here, hugging this bone to the chest. Good. Rotate and rotate in this right arm. Notice, where does movement stop? And release. Now, it might have felt like, well, I wasn't doing much, but usually if you release, by the time you release after that hold, you start to notice, I guess that was kind of a pull and a stretch, hopefully determining a little bit of nuance there. And finding this side. Now, we are stretching your shins, you're compressing your calves, a little bit of stretch in the tops of the thighs, stretching also in the tops of the feet because it's weight bearing and that foot is flexed. Maybe the legs are not feeling like circulation is feeling that good here. So if you need to come out, go ahead and come out, but start to at least bring some attention into what is going on. What do my legs need? Is this a good stretch? Is it not? Do I need to come out? Do I need one more breath in it? All right, I'm going to stay here. But if you need to come to your butt, go ahead and come to your butt and find the other arm. What's opening, what's closing. Even in this static space, bring your mind's eye into the joint, into the fibers of the muscles. What's opening, what's closing. What feels rigid, what feels at ease. What's growing and expanding and what's getting stagnant. I'm going to release. Feel that out. If you can stay, go ahead and stay. I'm going to stay on these knees. No judgment if you need to come out. You've learned what's going on, whether you've hit a point of over agitation, some excessiveness in those legs. I'm going to reach the arms out first, shoulder blades down, and try to gather the palms back behind me, and then see if I can bring the hands together. All right, so this is probably the most extreme in this big chest opening space. What do we feel in the upper arms? Sometimes the shoulder rotation while we're here helps us feel the flesh in the shoulders as well as the upper arms here. Noticing what happens with the elbows straight and the elbows bent. What is going on? Is this a type of movement we haven't accessed in a while or ever? Does your body move this way? Does it like it? Does it not? Is your mind forcing something? Where is the ease? Where is the growth? I changed the direction, sorry. Lifting the arms up and back. Feel the front of your chest. Is there a stop point going on in a shoulder joint? My left shoulder joint is actually saying, don't lift it any higher. And I'm going, okay, I won't. Actually, I'm going to lower it down. And it's like, oh, super, thank you. And gently release. And when I released, I noticed, there was stuff going on in my fingers. There was a lot of tension going on in those fingers. I'm going to let my legs come on out now. Lengthen them out. And I'm going to flip the palms and feel the stretch in the fibers of the fingers and the wrists and the forearms. Round the spine if you like to add into it. But if we can keep the spine up and just feel the shoulders and the forearms, rather than going for more, isolating in, we get to learn, what's going on in the wrists over time. Like I'm starting to feel some tension there. I actually have some sensations I don't know if I could describe, maybe just in terms of a color, in terms of a note, if I was playing a note on a keyboard. I'm feeling my middle knuckle on my left hand more than the other fingers on both hands. Now I'm going to bend the elbows a little. And that took some of the pressure out. and release. So that isolated work, start to know if you are trying to do more when we're just kind of meeting ourselves where we are. I'm going to lengthen the legs out. You often hear folks talk about clearing the flesh out from under you or feel your sit bones. I just want to feel the contact with the earth. I'm going to check in here. Am I being rigid? Which I was. So I'm going to slow that down. And how to check in? Go loopy, loopy, dumpy. Just absolutely let go. And then just feel how much physical muscle energy does it take to sit upright. Maybe go super rigid. And then feel out. What's that equilibrium? Feel the tailbone and work the low abs, okay? Because we can be holding ourselves up with this upper chest. Can we hold this region accountable to do something? And maybe you in your mind or your body go, is it supposed to be doing something? And I like to just go, could it? Whether supposed to, let go of the supposed to. Could it? And so if I tilt my tailbone back a little, it actually engages my low abdominals a little. And I go, but it did make me want to suck my tummy in. And so I'm going to try to let that go and just feel the muscles. And that could be a couple of months, a year, couple of year program to learn how to do that. Breathing in. Breathing out. And we're going to do a twist. All right, so are the arms doing your work? Are the belly muscles doing the work? Are the shoulder muscles doing the work? Spend the time to start to notice what is creating the torque. Are you overstraining? Where is the ease, right? A twist is equal parts, force and ease. Equal parts. Can the breath come in? Now, the breath is the great equalizer, the great source of equilibrium. And release. Feel that kind of acclimating coming out. I really only felt that mostly in the low back. Makes a lot of sense. It's a real achy part of my body today. I'm going to sit up and other side. Apply more with your wrists. Apply more with your upper arms. Start to notice, what are the elements of a twist? What is my body enjoying about it? What is my breath enjoying about it? What is equilibrium? You can even bow and flex the spine in your twist. Just start to notice what is going on. What is a straight line of energy? Does your straight line need a little bit of curve so that you have a little bit more ease? Good. And let's release. All right, I'm going to bring my right ankle above my left knee. So we've just got this kind of cross-legged position. And I'm going to let my upper body come forward. Maybe put a pillow down here. Maybe your upper body comes forward, all right? So it's a modified version of coming into a pigeon, but this is the first time that we're getting to have this cross in a wide angle cross. Remember when we were standing, we sent the heels out wide for a wide-legged, open hip space, and then we brought the toes in for that internal rotation. Here we're doing like a little bit of a combo by having the hip open, and by crossing the leg and taking the chest up and over, we're getting a little bit of a twist and an open stretch in the back of the sacrum. But I'm not going to tell you where you should be feeling this. You're noticing what you're noticing. Now, what has already changed? What is in a state of change muscularly right now? Where are you feeling states of change? Is it gradual change? Is it really fast change? Is it still going, changing faster, or is the change slowing down? What's settled into a space where nothing is changing? Is that true? Or is it just becoming less amplified? Is ease building up, or is agitation building? Do you need to change something? so that you can carry ease. And then bring yourself back up. And we'll switch. I'm just going to lengthen this leg and bring this leg over. What's great about noticing gradations of things that are in a state of change can really start to help us for that prevention of that super screen day where we pull something or spasm something. Because I'm going to come forward. We start to notice how our body talks, how our body eases into things, when it is starting to give us those little baby no's. And are we listening to the little baby no, or are we insisting beyond the baby no? And if you are insisting, where do you think you're going? What do you think you're pushing toward? Remember that a part of the journey of the yoga is being present here, not pushing towards some futuristic space. Fully absorbing and getting to know what is right here, the truth of the now. So what's going on in this transition? What's changing? What's growing? What's expanding? What's getting rigid? We might need to learn how to listen for the small little whispered no's before we learn how to listen for the yes. I think sometimes we go with those yeses before we thoroughly understand our no. Learn the boundaries, and then we can learn how to color outside of them, or how to gradually expand them. Yeah, that's what we're going to do, gradually expand them. But that means we got to listen for the no and the nuances of the no or the not yet. Ooh, and let's bring ourselves up. My low back definitely started to tell me more about those no's. Let's go ahead and uncross the legs. I'm going to bring our block down with us. Actually, I lied. I'm going to bring it down under my feet. I'm going to bring my feet to my block. And now become aware of all of the surface of the body that's on the floor. Is it rigid or is it at ease? Maybe tighten everything and then relax and just notice what you notice. Sometimes that tensing really helps us build awareness of tension we were carrying before we did it on purpose. So I'm going to squeeze again and then try to relax and realize, oh, I had some tensing going on in my low back. Makes sense. I got muscles that are trying to protect an area. And I'm saying, but you're on the earth. There's nothing you need to grip. You can't fall apart when you're already down. Oh, all right. I'm going to push down through the feet and lift the hips. What am I feeling? What's stable? Now my feet and my ankles and my shins have to be stable, but actually the bones can do the work. My muscles don't have to be doing anything. Can I let that go? Or am I being rigid? I was really, actually, once I said that, I let go of my left leg. I hadn't realized my left leg was tensing. Maybe wiggle the hips side to side and see if you can sag in the hips and let the body weight come down. Remember what we did earlier? Can you shift your weight? Push with the left leg and then let that go and push with the right. Feeling shifting of weight. What muscles start to follow? And now both hips up. Breathe. What's open? What's closed? What's over agitated? What's at ease? And we'll lower those hips down. Now go ahead and move the block out of the way, and we'll do it again without the block. So let's feel the feet just like we did when we were standing. I'm just going to adjust, kind of wake up to know what is going on. Toes, soles of the feet, arches, everything. Heels, sides of the feet. And then try to feel an equilibrium and press down and ask the hips to lift. Actually, the amount of body weight feels a little different now. Something feels different for me. I'm going to push up, push more into my toes. Notice what changes. Push more in my heel. Notice what changes. Try to unsqueeze the butt. Soften the shoulders. What's getting rigid and what's letting go. And lower the spine down. All right. So when we lifted up this way into the bridge, that was a stretching or an opening through the front of the hips. Now we'll do the opposite, and we'll pull the knees into the belly. This is a counter. Now that's going to stretch the back, right? So we stretched the front of the hips in one way, and now we stretch the back with this compression. Feel your back against the floor. Breathe in. Breathe out. I'm going to straighten the legs up toward the ceiling. Now loose noodle in the legs. Active pushing the heels. Loose noodle in the legs. Active pushing the heels. And what's a middle ground? Now, I'm not saying just to do it once or twice. You could do it as much of a flow as you like. Maybe we don't know what the middle is. Actually, I started to overdo not doing anything. And so I really went to another extreme, right? I said that I have a tendency to want to go into the do. And just there, I was ready to let go of doing anything at all. Push your low back into the floor. Intend your rooting. Now, are you super tense when you're pushing the spine into the floor? What's the equilibrium? Now bring the knees into the belly, and then send the legs up, and then knees into the belly. Open the knees wide and knees together. Feel that range when it's not bearing weight. I'm just going to lengthen the legs out and find a nice neutral space for Shavasana. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the Shavas because it's important. Really feeling all of the points, the bony points in touch with the floor. Feeling the back of your head. Really pay attention. Where's the weight being borne in the roundness of the back of your head? Do we know what equilibrium is? Do we know how to find a space where the neck is doing the least amount of work? Feeling both shoulder blades, the weight of both arms. Are the arms rotating open? The upper arms, is it neutral? What is neutral? Noticing my wrists wanted to keep working, so I'm actually going to shake that out a little bit and let that go. Feeling the hips, both legs. Feel the groin. Is it letting go? Is it trusting that you could let that leg just fall into the earth? Now, what are we noticing sensation-wise? Probably noticing something in our skin, some agitation, some fluttering. Does it bring us ease? What is it telling us about the amount of energy? Did we cultivate energy in our practice or did we drain it? Do we feel dull or do we feel like we have a luster in our whole being? Are there just certain regions of the body that are having that hum? Are there certain regions that feel numbed? Take stock. Where are we? What is our body telling us about the energy it has? What got cultivated, alleviated, grown? Can your body trust that it can find rest here? Or are you noticing small zones that are starting to clench, like it's just trying to hold on to something? Can you use your breath to help you continue to cultivate ease? Telling that area to unbunch, untense. And then accept whatever ease that you get to know. And try to carry that ease with me as I bring myself up to a comfortable seated space. And that's it. That's what can be the beginnings of your home practice of getting to know what feels good, what do I need, what do I want in my body on my mat. What is excessive, what is too little, and feeling out that space in between. If we don't have a good base in that, we can't start to grow in more aggressive strength poses because we'll overdo in some muscle sets. We can't start to grow in one-legged spaces when we don't know what equilibrium is in both. We can't start to grow upside down when we don't even have an orientation with our head above our neck and above our heart. We're building awareness of what is equilibrium, what is excess, what is stagnant and deficient, lacking. And then we'll start to build a comfort level with our comfort level and let it be yours, not mine. All of the love and light in me recognizes all of the love and light in you. I'm Belinda, and this has been our home yoga practice live today, breaking down a little bit of some of the elements of learning how to detect what do I need? What does my body need? What is my body telling me? And starting to be okay with starting from there rather than jumping into, oh, this crazy pose or that crazy pose. Learning how to acclimate, learning how to listen for the small no, the small scream before they become big no's and big screams. Namaste. It's been my deep honor to be able to share practice today. This was not a flow. If you're looking for more of a flowing kind of practice, breaking down specific postures, maybe join us on a Saturday for our yoga basics, or our Empower Yoga, which is a flowing power yoga practice. But all of what we went through today gives a huge breakdown so that you're starting to build that awareness of where you are in your bones, in your flesh, in your joints, and not taking yourself too far. It's going to serve you really well when you start to build into those intensities so that you know how to take the break. Thank you for bearing with me. If any of this resonated with you, please share our videos, or if it's in your heart or your pocket, feel free to give a donation at paypal.me/justyoga. If you are at all interested in working one-on-one in a private way, in a virtual private, go ahead and check out our website at justbeyoga.com. We have a special going on right now for the holiday season of 40% off of our privates. Your private will include a lesson plan. So you get a printed lesson plan after our class with our one-on-one. You also get a recording of our session. It's a great way to work just within you of what's going on with you and how to grow in that space. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, Carla. Carla, it's always great to see you. Thank you all. Always try my best to try to figure out ways to deliver things that are helpful for you so that you can start to build a practice that's meaningful for you and safe. All right. Namaste. Be good. Go forth and do great things.